everyone. Did you know that the full moon is just a couple of days away? The full moon is happening this coming Wednesday, and you might be wondering, Alyssa, why are you talking about the full moon? Well, full moon is absolutely important when you're focusing on your gut health because parasites are most active around full moon. And today we're going to be talking about parasites and the signs that you may have them. So since full moon is upon us, this is when most of our symptoms will start acting up. Parasitic type symptoms start acting up around full moon. And since the full moon is happening in just a couple of days and parasites are most active sort of a few days leading up to full moon and a few days after, you're most likely to experience these symptoms right now. In fact, you might already be experiencing them. And so I wanted to come on here today and talk to you all about these little critters that love to hang out inside our gut. So first and foremost, I want you to understand the correlation between parasites and the full moon. So around full moon, our serotonin levels, which is our happy neurotransmitter, increases in the body. And also, interestingly, our melatonin decreases in the body, which is our sleep hormone. So you might find around full moon, you don't sleep particularly well. But this creates a perfect condition for parasites to really start thriving. They love serotonin. Serotonin actually brings them more energy. It helps them allows them to move around freely in the body. And this is something that's really important because what that does is it means that parasites are most able to duplicate, reproduce, and they start growing and taking over the body. So full moon is such a critical piece of, I guess it's the most important time that you need to understand you need to be working with parasites. So when we have clients that are working through some sort of parasitic infection, we are absolutely working specifically around full moon for that reason. So full moon is important. I also want you to understand, though, testing around parasites, because we hear often from you guys, our community in our Facebook group, the Love Your Guts IBS support group, that you've had all the testing done from your doctors and your doctors are saying it's not parasites. Well, I still wouldn't rule out parasites because parasite testing isn't accurate. There is actually no parasite test out there that's 100% accurate. And the reason is because they are a stealth infection. Parasites love hiding. They hide specifically behind biofilms, which is like this filmy home or this house that they love to go into hiding behind. And it allows them to trick the immune system and be undetected. Now, because of this, many parasite tests will come back negative. But the other really important thing to understand is most parasite tests are done via stool. And parasites don't just live in our bowels or our intestines. Parasites can live all throughout our body. So we have clients that have parasites in their eyes. They have eye floaters or lots of itchiness of the eyes, and they have lumps and bumps going on in and around the eyes. We have clients with parasites in the brain, and so they've got brain fog, fatigue, memory issues, headaches, sort of cognition related issues. In the ears, like that real itchiness in the ears, parasite related often. Even in the nose, we have clients having to do nasal rinses with specific herbs to help flush out parasites in the nasal passageways. You can have parasites in your liver, gallbladder, even the bile ducts, one of the big reasons why gallbladders end up being lopped out. And so you remove the gallbladder, but the parasitic infection is still there. They can really, truly live all throughout our body. We've even had a couple of clients passing parasites vaginally. So please understand this, that when you do a stool test, we're just testing your stool sample. When our clients start working through their parasitic cleanse, most of them are passing anywhere from 1 inch long to 5 feet long parasites and worms. So why don't those come out when you poop? Why aren't you seeing those? Well, the big reason is because they're really great at biting in and suctioning and latching onto your intestinal lining, which is a big reason why you might be experiencing cramping or intestinal pain. You might even have iron deficiency or anemia. That is because they literally feed off of our blood and leave us nutrient depleted. So we're not always going to just pass them. They're not going to go out with ease. They're literally living off of you. So doing a stool sample is not very fruitful, and it's why when we do testing for our clients, we're looking for other markers, the indicators that they're present, and sort of the dirt they leave behind to uncover whether they are in fact present. But today, I want to go through these symptoms because, again, that full moon is around the corner. So the big symptoms that typically come about when you're struggling with any sort of parasitic infection can commonly be confused with other just general digestive symptoms. The biggest parasitic symptom or big flashing sign is that persistent, absolute stubborn constipation and or diarrhea. So when we have clients that are on the extreme end of that spectrum, this is like for sure, okay, we need to be tackling parasites. Especially if you're the type of person who, again, no matter what spectrum you're on, constipation or diarrhea, are taking endless antidiarrheals and or laxatives, right? If you are taking all of the supplements, all of the medications, and still barely getting your bowels under control, there is a larger infection at play, and parasites are almost always the culprit, okay? The other really big sign is that big, persistent, pregnant bloating. Now, this can also be confused with SIBO because SIBO absolutely creates that big, pregnant bloat. But underneath SIBO is just a symptom. Underneath SIBO is often a parasitic infection, which is why so many people pursue SIBO plans and they're on some sort of herbal or antibiotic remedy to try to get rid of SIBO, and they feel a little bit better for a short period, but either comes rushing back and or that bloating just never goes away. It's because underneath that is actually a parasite issue. So we always address the parasites first, and often when we get rid of the parasites, the SIBO goes away. That's the easy peasy part to get rid of. The parasites are often the main host causing the problem. So that big persistent bloated belly that you've got going on, know that that may not just be SIBO related, it's probably more parasite related. We used to have clients who would be tackling SIBO and that bloating was the most persistent symptom, and they would sometimes be a month or two into their protocol still struggling with that persistent bloat. But as soon as we hit parasites, within 2 to 4 weeks, bloat was almost completely gone 100% of the time. So big shifts. You should be experiencing big improvements in your symptoms within a relatively short period of time. And if you're not, you're missing the larger stealth infection, and it could be parasites. All right, let's talk about some other really common ones. Itchiness, especially itchy bum. This is common of pinworms. They're about an inch long, they're little squiggly guys, and they love kind of poking their head out of the rectum and making things itchy. I know, gross, right? But it's incredibly common. So itchy bum, especially around full moon, if you find yourself waking up in the night scratching your butt, that's probably why, okay? But also itchy ears, even ringing in the ears, or vertigo, dizziness, while it can be related to Lyme, also really common of parasites. Eyes, dry eyes, obviously floaters in the eyes, also really common of parasites. Now, skin issues and I'm going to say brain fog, fatigue, memory issues, these are also common symptoms that like to hang out when parasite issues are present. But I will also say that these are usually also because drainage pathways are clogged up with those parasites being present. So we want to not just be addressing the stealth infection, but also making sure that your body's able to flush things out. So guys, I want you to, as you go into full moon, keep in mind these physical symptoms, but also know that parasites absolutely impact our emotional well-being. In fact, they will signal the brain and can absolutely interrupt our mental health. And we've seen studies linking them to anxiety and depression. So if you are struggling with your mental health, know that your gut and stealth infections are a component. They're a piece of the puzzle. I won't say that it's the sole causer, but it's a big culprit. So if you're going into full moon and you're feeling extra emotional, we usually have this time of month, I'll have the odd client reach out to me and say, I just can't stop crying and I don't know what's wrong. Life is happening, but I just can't seem to get it under control. If you're feeling extra angry or irritable, if you have light and sound sensitivity around this time of month, full moon, know that it could be those parasites at play. So ultimately, guys, the best test to know if you have parasites is the pulse test. If you have a pulse, you've probably got parasites. And I always get asked, especially from our clients, when they're passing worms and parasites in their stool daily once we get them on their protocol, they usually say, Alyssa, this is so gross. I had no idea all of these little buggers were living in me. I'm feeling so much better, but I don't ever want to experience that again. How did I get them in the first place? I want you guys to hear this too. Parasites are something that we're constantly in contact with. There's no way to completely get rid of your exposure. And so what's more important is knowing how to get rid of them out of your system, do like a full engine rebuild and flush them out. But then we also need to go into strengthening up the body. That's where we maintain things. We want to get your body strong enough that it can ward off these parasites when you come in contact with them. And then we teach our clients how to maintain their gut by doing a parasite cleanse about 2 to 4 times a year, just depends on the person. So you need to really be focusing on getting your body strong enough to defend itself, because you are going to be exposed. We are exposed to parasites if we go swimming in a lake or an ocean, if you are drinking tap water, if you ever walk barefoot outside, if you eat meat or fish or sushi, if you eat vegetables, we are coming in contact with these things. One other quick thing I always like to remind my clients, because they're often passing big, long, very real visible worms and parasites, that we obviously didn't eat these parasites in their full-blown adult life cycle and life form. It really comes in contact with us when they're in their larvae stage. They're not visible to the eyes. And so while it's important to wash your vegetables and cook your meats well, and again, be, on top of mitigating these risks, you are going to come in contact with them. And so again, if your body is strong enough to fight off these larvae and flush them out of the system, then that parasite isn't going to be able to grow in and again, have a full life cycle in your body on the account of your body eating up your nutrients. Right? So keep this in mind if you are struggling with your weight, whether it's you're overweight or underweight. Parasites are often a culprit. Keep in mind if you are the type of person who constantly feels hungry, if you feel like you eat a meal and then you could keep eating after, or nothing ever feels satisfying, sometimes it's a matter of the parasites didn't particularly like what you chose for dinner and they would like you to eat something else. Or if you have deficiencies, if your body is slow at healing, again, there might be a larger stealth infection at play, and parasites may be the thing that you need to look into. So I would love to hear from you. I want you to let me know which of these symptoms are jumping out the most for you, and do you suspect you have parasites? Let me know in the comments, and then let's get you some support. All right, guys, we'll see you next week. Bye.